It has been a day since the Titans fell to the Denver Broncos 20-12 in week 1 of the NFL season. And you know what day it is? It's Monday, and we have our first Overreaction Monday of the football season. Welcome into Titans Today by Chat Sports. I am your host, Brett Alper. It was a good day on the defense, but overall a bad day on the offense. 20-12 final score, and you can see that stat, and we'll talk about it. For Cam Ward, not your greatest, really, debut for the rookie quarterback, the first overall pick. Tony Pollard, not so hot, and Calvin Ridley, who's supposed to be a wide receiver one. Defensively, which we'll get into, that is where the Titans really shined. But there's 3 topics of discussion, and there's also more kind of reactions that we have, but these are kind of the main 3. And we got to talk about Brian Callahan a lot. Because what the hell is he thinking? And I think that he's on the hot seat. Cam Ward, yeah, we're going to talk about his struggles. And we also have a rookie star in the making. But also, you kind of have a lot of things on defense that were very, very good positives. Let's start off with just the number 1. And everybody who's kind of looking at it from an all-eyes perspective. And that was, how was the number 1 overall pick going to perform? Well, Cam Ward, let's just say he did not play his greatest game, and we kind of figured that going into preseason, going into training camp. There was a lot of times where he struggled, and there was a lot of times he looked really, really good. 43% completion percentage. For me, if you're going to be a good quarterback, you got to be completing at least 60% of these passes. 12 for 28, and then only 112 yards. No touchdowns, but one important thing. 28 attempts, and still you did not throw an interception. That is a positive note. Like, Cam Ward made some great throws. He made that throw specifically to Elic Ayomanor, which was a dot. Of course, we'll talk about how Brian Callahan didn't challenge that play, but 43% is horrid. You have to be better. And the one positive note that I will say is number 1 overall quarterbacks that get drafted, their record in season openers is not good. 4-15-1. It was last year, Caleb Williams, he won his debut, and then you have to go all the way back to 2002 with David Carr with the Texans. That was your last 2 to win season openers. And if we take a look at the number 1 pick debuts from the last couple of seasons, Caleb Williams, not great, 14 for 29, 92 yards. Bryce Young, not great. Trevor Lawrence, solid, but you see 3 interceptions. Joe Burrow, 193 yards. We see what he's become in the league, except yesterday he did not play good at all. And then Kyler Murray, 54 passes, 2 touchdowns, and 1 interception. It's your first game. You're going to have some jitters. You're going to have a little bit of problems. Also, a lot of the wide receivers just dropped a lot of balls. The final possession of the ball game, the final drive, 3 drops. 1 by Calvin Ridley, 1 by Chigakonkwo. Like, that cannot happen. And I think they're going to get better. So I'm not 100% concerned about Cam Ward. I really, really don't like this. It's 42.9, but I'm rounding up to 43%. But if you're not concerned about Cam Ward and you're still excited for him the rest of the year, because it's only week 1 and he went up against the best defense in the NFL, go ahead, hit that thumbs up icon and like today's video. The second one, and this is probably the biggest overreaction, and I don't even know if it's an overreaction, but Brian Callahan's hot seat is now on fire. And when I mean on fire, like, you have to stand up because that seat is way too hot. His decision-making in yesterday's game was absolutely awful. They got the ball, and they had the opportunity to kind of go into half leading. Well, in your own kind of 5, within the 5, your own 5-yard line, Brian Callahan decided we're not going to run the ball out and just kind of go into the half. We're going to start passing. End of the half play calling was atrocious. It was, hey, we're going to pass the ball 3 times, give the Broncos the ball back, and then they're going to end up scoring. Thankfully, Chimere Dike can put on some speed and get into field goal range so they get the field goal. But that was bad. And doesn't know the rules is the biggest one, game management as a whole. But Brian Callahan does not know what a catch is. And how are you a head coach in the NFL and you do not know what a catch is? And what I'm referring to was Cam Ward's dot to Elic Ayomanor for like 25, 30 yards, and he was ruled out of bounds. Well, his elbow hit the ground, which constitutes a catch. And Brian Callahan was asked, why didn't he challenge that? And then Paul Kaharski kind of tweeted it out and gave a whole description of what is the rule. And a forward pass is complete, and you can see that an elbow kind of relates to 2 feet. An elbow equals 2 feet. And Brian Callahan did not know that. He said, well, you got to have a foot in bounds too, is with your elbow. No, that's wrong. So he does not know the rules of what a catch is. And that's just flat out embarrassing that a head coach in the NFL, an offensive-minded head coach in the NFL, does not know what a catch is. That's embarrassing. That is terrible. And I'm sure he's going to get asked questions all throughout this entire today during his press conference of what is going on. And that's a problem. I don't see him lasting all season. I see him getting fired at some point, because if they start 1-4 or 2-6, it is going to be over for Brian Callahan. The third takeaway, I really, really, really liked what I saw from Elic Ayomanor. Specifically, that catch where he got his elbow in. That was a catch, Brian Callahan. You're supposed to throw the challenge flag. It was a huge changing factor of the game. It was a turning point. And I know the stats really don't kind of put on what he did. I mean, he had 7 targets, 2 catches, 13 yards, 6.5 yards per catch, no touchdowns, but Titans didn't score a touchdown yesterday. And they're going to get better, and he's going to get better, and also Cam Ward is going to get better, and he's going to be able to throw the ball. The numbers do not tell the whole story. Yeah, he only had 2 catches, but if you watch the tape, he was cooking. Pat Surtain was on Calvin Ridley, but he was cooking all day long. The route running with Elic Ayomanor was great. It seemed like Cam Ward was specifically targeting him. And they're going to get more of a connection. They're going to get more chemistry as that season goes on. And I really think that he's going to break out at some point, because you're not going to be playing good defenses like you are with the Denver Broncos, where that was it was a hard team to debut against. A really, really, really hard to debut against. But I expect Ayomanor. There's a reason why he's starting over Van Jefferson. Going to get to some more of my overreaction takeaways in just a second. But I got to tell you about our sponsor of today's show, and that is Prize Picks. And you guys know how much I love Prize Picks. You and I make decisions every day on Prize Picks, but being right can get you paid. Don't miss any of the excitement this season on Prize Picks, where it's good to be right. Prize Picks is simple to play. Just pick more or less on 2 to 6 player stat projections. If you get your picks right, you can cash in. Prize Picks is the best way to win cash this football season. Which players are going off? Which ones aren't? Make your picks in less than 60 seconds and turn your takes into cash all season long on Prize Picks. Download the app today and use code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks. It's good to be right. All right. And I really liked what I saw from Jeffery Simmons on the field, except for one thing in particular, and we'll get into that in a second. But we got to talk about just how good Jeffery Simmons was in this game. He was obviously one of the best players on the field and the best player for the Titans. 4 tackles, 8 pressures on the day, which I will make note is the second most in the league right now. He had a beautiful sack on Bo Nix. That was a forced fumble. It was a strip sack. He was all over the field, and you could tell that he really, really, really made an impact on this team. It's clear as day that Simmons is the best player on the field. And he did kind of kept the Titans in this game, but also didn't keep the Titans in this game. Still making bonehead decisions, which is immaturity and just flat out stupid. There was a play right at the end of the game. It was going to be 4th and 8 because they hand the ball off and the Titans were going to get the ball back with like 4 minutes to go. And then Jeffery Simmons just shoved him. He shoved whoever was the running back, and that led to an unnecessary roughness penalty for 15 yards, and that was basically the game. Like, it's year 7, Jeffery Simmons. You have to mature. And there's some rumors picking up. I've seen all over social media and all over that he could be a trade candidate. But you need him if you want this Titans defense to be elite. But you also got to mature. Because at 28 years old, this is rookie-ass mistakes that you're making. So calm down, Jeffery Simmons. The tackle was already made, and he just shoved that man right out of the way. So I'll ask you guys, does Jeffery Simmons need to mature? Give me a Y for yes, or give me an N for no down in the comments section. And the last overreaction, you held the Broncos to 20 points. This Broncos defense might be a lot better than people think. And do I want to call it elite? I don't know. That's why I call it Overreaction Monday, but it might be elite. They had Bo Nix in hell. Last year, Bo Nix looked great. He threw for like 3,800 yards, like 29 touchdowns, did not have a lot of interceptions. It was Bo Nix's first game ever with 3 turnovers, 2 interceptions and a forced fumble. And a lost fumble. 25 for 40, 176 yards. You held him to under 200. Yeah, he had that touchdown that was literally on Cortland Sutton, who made a hell of a play. But they stopped Bo Nix a lot. And it was 4th and 1, and Bo Nix took a QB sneak. Tried to do, you can't do a tush push because he's not big enough. But Tavondre Sweat made one hell of a play, just stopping him right at the line of scrimmage to force a turnover. They had multiple opportunities, and the offense couldn't do anything, but the defense was locking down. And then we'll talk about the run defense. Like, yeah, R.J. Harvey went for 50. Then they had J.K. Dobbins, the same exact drive, going for 19 yards for a touchdown. But other than those 2 big runs, the Titans were holding Denver to under 100 yards rushing, which is very impressive from what we kind of expected this Broncos defense to do. Cody Barton looked good. Cedric Gray looked good. Roger McCreary had a pick. So did Xavier Woods. Is this defense going to be elite? Because it looked really good against a good offensive team with the Denver Broncos. And now you're going up against the Rams next week. So it's going to be another high offensive power. You're going to have to stop Puka Nacua and Matthew Stafford, though. But before that, grade the Titans defense for me against the Broncos. You give it an A, B, C, D, or an F. I give it a B+, and I give the offense a C+. Don't forget to also hit that sub button while you're down there. We're bringing you Titans coverage all throughout the week and leading up to that game against the Rams. So hit that sub button, and as always, tighten up.